When this guy spots a group of goblins drinking water, he doesn't rush to attack them with his fists or some kind of weapon. Instead, he uses his skill and opens his inventory to pull out something like a Pokemon ball to summon his own goblin slave. Then he throws it right at them. Unfortunately, it falls short and drops to the ground before even reaching the target. That's not how it's supposed to work, and it startles the goblins just as much as it startles our boy. They quickly spot our MC and rush to kill him. He has no choice but to use his fists after all, but it soon becomes obvious that the goblins are going to kill him. Luckily, the summoning works after a short delay, and the goblin slave saves him at the last moment. The other goblins don't stand a chance. He kills them mercilessly, leaving nothing but a bloodbath behind. After the victory, the goblin slave becomes even stronger and raises all his stats. Yet this goblin slave is only the starting point. Our boy has many more summons to unlock, but to do that, he has to kill a lot more monsters. Though that's not a problem at all, because what could be more fun than defeating monsters with other monsters, right? But just a short while ago, everyone thought he was a complete failure with no chance of ever becoming a hunter. It's the proudest day for any graduating hunter, and our boy is no exception. At the Hunter Association Stadium, he finally walks onto the stage to receive his highly coveted hunter license, having officially graduated as an E-rank hunter. This youth is full of ambition, having worked his ass off to reach this point. You see, he is an awakener of the lowest rank, meaning he was born into this world playing on hard mode. He literally had to study twice as much as a regular awakener just to bridge the gap left by his mediocre rank. However, hitting the books hard did help him accumulate so much knowledge about dungeons and monsters that he currently stands at the pinnacle of theory, leaving even the most blessed awakeners in the dust. So, in this moment, he feels a deep sense of pride. At long last, he's being granted the privilege of becoming a real hunter. Unfortunately, the cold and harsh attendant distributing the certificates ruins everything. That arrogant man literally tears his certificate in two, claiming that being an E-rank hunter is worthless. Hanul might have been granted the title, but he can't function as an official hunter with such an abysmal standing. All the theoretical and tactical knowledge he possesses is completely meaningless if he doesn't have a high rank to back it up. Simply put, all his effort so far has been a pointless grind. Crushed by this reality, Hanul eventually gives up on his dream of hunting monsters. He retreats into gaming to distract himself, but even after 7 years, he can't quite let it go. After all, without a solid career, he's living an aimless life, unsure of how to make a proper living. Right now, his only path forward is playing video games full-time. He has become obsessed with a game called Monsters Block Monsters, also called MBM. As the name suggests, you fight monsters using other monsters. Out of countless species, players are given the freedom to recruit and harness their unit's potential to push back hostile waves in this brutal tower defense game. On paper, the mechanics sound simple, but they are anything but simple. If you've ever played something like Bloons TD5, then you know what I'm talking about. This game demands rock-solid, rocket science-level placement strategies and optimal methods to push each unit to its absolute limit. It allows you to upgrade monsters, but the progression is agonizingly slow. Even if you manage to grind your ass off and upgrade units crucial to your strategy, their levels reset completely if they fall in battle. Permadeath is real here. There is absolutely no way to recover the stats of a deceased monster. While these unforgiving mechanics make the gameplay thrilling, they've also attracted a ton of hate, earning it the reputation of being a historically trash game. For instance, the game literally allows you to take down a magnificent 3-star ogre using just a 1-star goblin if your strategy is flawless. But as they say, one man's trash game is another man's treasure. Hanul actually earns a decent living by live streaming this game because his sharp critical thinking allows him to beat it with ease. Consequently, he's earned the title of a hardcore veteran within its community, Monsters Block. Monsters has been his only lifeline since his hunter career tanked. Unfortunately, he won't be able to pursue this path much longer, as this will be his last day playing this game. After all, the game developers are shutting it down. Keyboard warriors on the internet are mocking him, and his loyal community is left wondering what he'll do next. They figure he must have a valid hunter license, assuming it's no big deal if he loses his streaming gig. The brutal reality is that he isn't a working hunter, a realization that stings deeply, yet he refrains from revealing this crucial detail publicly. Brushing off his anxieties, he decides to play to his heart's content, considering it's his last day on the server. A special event is currently taking place in-game, simply known as The Wave. The objective is straightforward: protect your castle from endless hordes of monsters pouring out of a portal. The wave this veteran is about to challenge is the 700th, dubbed Uncharted Territory. Up until now, no one has been skilled or lucky enough to reach this milestone, leaving Hanul both excited and anxious. He launches the game, and a massive swarm of monsters begins spawning from the primordial gate. As the overwhelming beast horde charges forward, he deploys his level 100 archer to thin the herd. However, a single archer isn't nearly enough against that swarm and ends up getting slaughtered. It's a devastating loss. Still, he hasn't lost hope. The next troop to step up to the plate is his level 130 succubus queen. Tragically, she too becomes lunch for a massive three-headed hound. One by one, he loses all his high-ranking units, eventually leaving his defenses completely dry. Just when all hope seems lost, the game throws a massive curveball. Challenging the 700th wave for the first time has triggered a special condition, allowing a character named Sovereign to awaken and step onto the battlefield. The Sovereign is a majestic, blue-haired sword knight with an unknown gender. Hanul is floored by this unexpected turn of events. Usually, Sovereigns are essentially NPCs. They aren't supposed to make a move. As the horde of monsters lunges forward, this divine beauty stands right over the castle's gate, completely unfazed. Drawing her sword, the Sovereign swings it with lethal grace, leaving a trail of divine light that slices through the monsters like they are playing a fucked-up version of Fruit Ninja. Even Hanul, who has played this game thousands of times, is absolutely mesmerized by the character's sheer strength. Another wave of monsters barrels toward them. They leaps into the air and unleashes another arcane flash of light, devastating the enemy ranks. They continue to pummel the beasts until, eventually, all that remains are massive piles of corpses. Much to our boy's shock, this marks the official completion of the 700th wave. For his entire streaming career, he believed Sovereigns had no purpose other than looking pretty in the background. But this is completely wild. This Sovereign is a literal cheat code. Suddenly he realizes there aren't any viewers left to celebrate this unprecedented achievement. His stream had crashed, leaving only a single viewer in the chat. This mysterious viewer starts expressing deep gratitude for the effort Hanul put into conquering the world. The commenter rejoices, stating that thanks to Hanul, they will finally be able to live in harmony since he helped awaken their lord. Hanul has no clue what the hell this person is rambling about. Things only get weirder when an arcane portal suddenly rips open in his room, and a holographic system window materializes, revealing he has awakened a new skill. The mention of a new skill triggers a memory of his old teachers. They used to say that while E-rankers are generally incapable of surviving dungeons, a lucky few sometimes awaken additional skills later in life. It's incredibly rare, which is why this phenomenon is known as reawakening. Realizing he's been granted a second chance, Hanul decides to capitalize on the opportunity. He is absolutely fired up to make his grand debut as a hunter once again. However, despite his reawakening, his main status window shows no signs of change, a detail that leaves him highly curious. His hope is revitalized when a secondary notification pops up, granting him access to the details of his new skill. The summary presents him with two options. He can make a deal with the Sovereign or converse with the Sovereign. Having no clue what either actually entails, he blindly picks one. He selects Deal with the Sovereign, yet right before the skill activates, a flashing red alert warns him that he lacks the required gold to trigger the condition. Hanul feels thoroughly exasperated. Just when he thought he was one step closer to his dream, he's thrown 2 steps back. The soft glow of his monitors sparks another idea. He decides to interrogate the sole viewer who was yapping all that cryptic gibberish earlier. As soon as he boots his stream back up, the viewer pops right back online. For simplicity's sake, let's just call this mysterious guy Viewer 1. After locking the stream to ensure it remains a strictly one-on-one chat, Hanul proceeds to fire off the daunting questions he desperately needs answered. Since this user appeared at the exact moment his reawakening triggered, Hanul is certain they hold the answers. Without beating around the bush, he straight up asks Viewer 1 if they know anything about his reawakening. Much to his astonishment, the viewer confirms it. Hanul always knew awakening was a phenomenon entirely beyond human control. Could it be that the entity on the other side of the screen is responsible for helping him reawaken? He follows up by asking why this sudden event happened. After all, why would an unknown being bother interfering just to grant a washed-up gamer a second shot? The mysterious entity simply replies that the Sovereign has chosen him, and that's all there is to it. As for why the Lord is granting this massive favor, it's solely because Hanul was the catalyst who awakened their Lord in the first place. The entity reassures him that the thick cloud of confusion currently muddling his thoughts will naturally disperse with time. As for the newly granted skills, Hanul should simply consider them a token of their Lord's profound gratitude. Hanul drops the interrogation, now strictly focused on figuring out how to actually utilize these new gifts. The skill titled Conversation with the Sovereign has a cooldown, meaning he has to wait before activating it. He accepts that, but he demands to know why the other skill is currently locked behind a paywall. The mysterious entity suddenly realizes its oversight and immediately rectifies the mistake by directly depositing 50 gold into Hanul's system wallet. Now flush with the required currency, Hanul can finally test his skills to his heart's content and piece the puzzle together at his own pace. With its duty fulfilled, the entity bids him farewell and logs off the stream. Hanul is totally lost. He even tries pinching himself just to make sure he isn't trapped in some stupid, hyper-realistic dream. Regardless, one thing is absolutely certain. This reawakening isn't just a random fluke. This mysterious entity known as the Lord is directly behind it. Suddenly, a system notification pings, alerting him to a 50 gold deposit. This newly acquired currency finally allows him to activate his skill, Deal with the Sovereign. Instantly, a massive digital storefront materializes right in front of him, displaying a long list of monsters available for purchase. Looking at his wallet, the only unit he can currently afford with his measly 50 gold is a slave goblin. Everything else is outrageously expensive. The most expensive character on the roster is the Sovereign themselves, boasting an asking price of 11 digits, a bafflingly long string of numbers that hurts his brain just looking at it. Naturally, our boy would love to add her to his arsenal, but the sheer cost is staggering. However, it isn't the skill itself that fascinates him. It's the fact that this system window looks identical to the one in his game. The tiny holographic projections of the monsters spinning next to their price tags are almost a one-to-one replica of Monsters Block monsters, with only a few subtle differences. Since the game mechanics allowed him to summon the units he owned, Hanul deduces that it should work the exact same way in reality. A sassy smirk creeps onto his face. He doesn't need to be physically strong to be a top-tier hunter. He can simply have his summons do the heavy lifting. Speaking of gold, a realization hits him. In MBM, players had two ways to line their pockets: clearing dungeons or hunting monsters and selling the loot. Applying those game mechanics to reality, he figures he needs to slaughter some monsters to farm the gold he desperately needs. The glaring issue, however, is that his current physical stats are sitting at rock bottom, way too low to even hunt a lowest grade slime, let alone anything dangerous. Left with no other options, he confirms the transaction for the slave goblin. A blue Pokeball consisting of his slave goblin materializes in reality. The scene shifts to the bustling Hunter Association building. Hanul is here to officially register himself as a solo E-rank hunter. After the receptionist pulls up his fresh record, she finds 4 available jobs suited for a rookie of his standing. Hanul carefully compares the options and deliberately settles on the one that seems the least suitable for his meager physical abilities: a goblin extermination quest in a remote village behind the mountains. The attendant quickly warns him that the designated area is completely out of reach for emergency support. If shit hits the fan, he will be entirely on his own. But that is exactly what our boy wants. The last thing he needs right now is to attract unwanted attention. While feeling a pang of pity for someone so young potentially throwing his life away, the attendant updates his status. Following biometric verification, the registration process concludes, and she promises to text him the relevant mission details. Hanul is cleared for deployment and practically buzzing with anticipation for his debut. Upon finally arriving at the remote village, the client who issued the commission comes rushing out to meet him. The old man is overwhelmingly grateful that a brave hunter actually accepted his request. After all, very few awakeners would volunteer to trek all the way out here for such a pitiful payout. Even so, the elder looks skeptical that a scrawny kid like Hanul can handle those nasty creatures alone. He genuinely worries for our boy's safety. Appreciating the old man's sincerity, Hanul flashes a confident smile and reassures him that he won't let those vile creatures defile the village any longer. Venturing deep into the forest where the goblin nest is supposedly located, Hanul stumbles upon a rather unexpected sight. Instead of acting like disheveled creatures driven by primal instincts, this group of goblins is casually chilling by a stream, drinking water like regular humans. Brushing off the weirdness, Hanul opens his inventory and pulls out his newly acquired familiar, which is currently resting in its blue blob form. Channeling his inner Pokemon trainer, he throws the blue Pokeball at blazing speed toward the creatures. The sphere lands right in front of the bewildered goblins. For a tense second, absolutely nothing happens. Hanul finds himself in incredibly hot water. His Pokeball seemingly failed to deploy. Realizing the human standing before them is hostile, the goblins instantly bare their sharp claws and close the distance, ready to rip him to shreds. Knowing he has no other choice, Hanul braces himself to fight barehanded. Instead of fleeing, he balls up his fist, ready to throw a desperate counterpunch. However, just as a green menace is about to sink its claws into him, the system finally triggers. The goblin summon makes a badass, explosive entry, materializing out of thin air and brutally knocking the hostile monster away with a massive club. Seeing his summon up close makes something click in Hanul's brain. When he first started streaming MBM, the very first monster he obtained was a standard slave goblin. Over time, he had equipped that lowly minion with god-tier items, evolving the trash-tier creature into an absolute Chad that soloed 100 waves of ferocious monsters completely unassisted. He had named that goblin Gono. Looking at the familiar stats, it becomes glaringly obvious. This creature is rocking the exact same top-of-the-line A-rank equipment Hanul had grinded for. This solidifies his belief this is his Gono, brought to life. Gono goes absolutely batshit crazy, literally tearing the 2 frontline goblins limb from limb. The third and final goblin, utilizing its last few remaining brain cells, turns and bolts in the opposite direction. Unfortunately for the fleeing monster, Gano is equipped with Raven's wingbeat shoes. Moving like a literal flash of lightning, the familiar zips across the clearing and splits the final goblin into pieces before it can even scream. Hanul is left standing there with his jaw practically glued to the floor. He never truly realized how terrifyingly strong Gano was in a realistic setting. With the threat neutralized, the blood-soaked familiar trots back to his master, producing a surprisingly cute puppy dog face as he insists on a head pat for a job well done. Once again, Hanul is left speechless. He never expected to experience this wholesome side of a monster's personality. The system chimes, notifying him that Gano's affection level currently stands at 20 out of 100. It further details that reaching maximum affection will unlock a brand new skill. The usually pragmatic gamer, who was previously hesitant to even touch his summon, immediately drops to his knees and hugs the goblin like he is his long-lost brother from another mother. Back to the main agenda, Hanul notices a glaring issue. The corpses haven't dropped a single piece of loot. How is he supposed to farm gold? Thankfully, Gano already has it figured out. The familiar leaps from corpse to corpse, driving his hands into their chests to harvest their life essence, which takes the form of faintly glowing monastones. A portal of arcane blue energy materializes nearby, and Gano casually tosses the stones inside. In exchange for the 3 low-grade cores, the Lord's Castle of Illusion directly deposits 30 gold into Hanul's account. It all makes sense now. Instead of monsters dropping physical coins, he has to extract their mana stones and exchange them via the system. Hanul showers Gano with more affection for figuring out the mechanics so quickly. Now that the gold is secured, he prepares to collect physical proof of the quest's completion for the association. But it seems those 3 goblins were merely the appetizer. A sudden, violent commotion erupts from the depths of the forest, demanding their attention. With each passing second, the earth-rattling thuds intensify. Trees are violently shredded and crumpled into splinters as a giant behemoth makes its grand entrance. It's an ogre. Hanul instantly starts questioning his life choices. An ogre of this massive size is strictly supposed to spawn in B-rank gates or higher. It makes absolutely no sense for it to be wandering around an E-rank quest zone. However, a prominent detail catches his eye. The monster is heavily panting and covered in fresh gashes. It has clearly already been in a brutal fight. Still, injuries are no excuse to underestimate a boss-level threat. To make matters infinitely worse, a system alert flashes red. Gano only has 3 minutes remaining before his summon duration expires. The loyal familiar steps forward, completely unfazed by an opponent quadruple his size. Gano shoots his master a confident glance, silently asking for his trust. Activating his Raven's wingbeat shoes, the goblin launches into a high-speed sprint straight toward the towering beast. The behemoth roars, swinging a massive, uprooted tree trunk like a baseball bat to swat away the incoming pest. But Gano is devastatingly quick on his feet. He leaps high into the air, taking a mid-air stance to accelerate his momentum to the absolute limit. He descends like a goddamn meteor, aiming his club squarely at the ogre's skull. The ogre desperately throws its massive arms up to shield its vitals. Gano doesn't let up. The immense pressure quickly becomes too much for the beast to handle, resulting in a sickening crunch as its arm bones shatter and its ribs cave in. Pushing his amplified strength even further, Gano unleashes a shockwave that sends thunderous ripples through the forest, forcing Hanul to skid backward just to stay upright. Ultimately, the ogre is completely crushed beneath the sheer kinetic force. Hanul is absolutely floored by this astronomical display of raw power, rushing over to celebrate the victory with a happy little dance. With only 3 seconds left on the clock before he vanishes, Gano hurriedly extracts the massive mana stone from the ogre's chest and offers it up. The familiar then dissipates back into his blue orb form, leaving Hanul holding a chunky, high-quality core. The arcane portal reappears to claim the prize. Tossing the low intermediate mana stone inside nets him a massive 100 gold deposit, pushing his current haul to a comfortable 130 gold. It seems the system has one more surprise in store. Because this marks his first official monster takedown, Hanul is rewarded with a premium gacha ticket. This ticket allows players to roll for exceptionally rare items, though any veteran knows the drop rates are usually absolute trash. Activating the ticket causes an ornate chest full of mysterious goodies to materialize before him. A fascinating truth is revealed by the system. The god-tier gear he pulls from the gacha isn't just for his summons. He can actually equip the items himself to boost his own rock-bottom stats. Before he can celebrate his newfound potential, the sound of snapping branches alerts him to incoming company. A fully armed group of awakeners rushes into the clearing, clearly tracking the trail of the wounded ogre. The trail does indeed lead them right to their target, but the problem is, it's already dead. As soon as Hanul gets a clear look at the squad, his heart sinks with despair. He instantly recognizes the woman leading the pack, Yoon Soo-ah, the formidable leader of Team 2 from the prestigious Pungbak Guild. It's immediately obvious that her team had been the ones fighting the ogre earlier, whittling it down before it escaped. Dealing with a high-ranking guild over a stolen kill is never going to be easy. Hanul tries to quietly hightail it out of the area, but Sua barks at him to freeze. Her squad instantly fans out and surrounds him. After formally introducing herself, she sharply explains that the abnormal ogre was their designated prey. She is visibly thrilled with neither the situation nor the fact that someone else seemingly sniped their kill. It's an incredibly tense situation for our boy. Suwa glances at the fallen ogre, wondering just how this guy managed to defeat the monster alone, even if they had been wounded in the fight. 3 of them as B ranks were trying their hardest to defeat and couldn't, and judging from this information, she concludes that this guy must at least be an A rank. Reacting accordingly, she extends her hand, introduces herself as Suwa from the Poonback Guild. The baddie wants to see what kind of guy she's dealing with, so Hanul reacts calmly with an introduction of his own. The shocking part is that Suwa can sense that an archangel is actually interested in the person standing in front of her. This annoys her, and she just can't place a finger on what makes this simple-looking guy so special. Curious about his abilities, she asks Hanul if he hunted the monster alone. He vaguely replies, admitting that he did. This puts her on edge, making her wonder if this dude is hiding something. She then explains that they were the ones involved with the ogre's previous battle, and how she's glad that he managed to stop the monster before any damage could be caused. Our boy casually responds by saying that he got lucky, but Suwa knows that he's saying bullshit because an ogre can't be killed by luck alone. Now, she's fully suspicious of him, and to react accordingly, she agrees to hand over all of the payout reward to the ogre they were chasing. Basically, the Poonback Guild will personally reach out to Hunter Hanul for his role and deal him the payment. This is a shocking favor even for Hanul, who can't believe that they're being too nice by handing away their own prey. Suwa's sharp, because she adds a return condition, a question that she's been meaning to ask. Of course, our boy knew that the deal was too good to come for free, but he's surprised when this girl casually extends her phone. Hilariously, Suwa looks like a petite girl trying to ask out her crush's number right now. Even she's flustered while asking for his number, while our Giga Chad dense protagonist doesn't even know what the heck is going on. The scene cuts to our boy meeting with the villager uncle who is greatly indebted to the hunter for saving their lives. Hanul is just happy that he cleared a safe path for them up the mountain, and learns how these villagers have had it rough. The chief wants to repay him. The offer comes in handy because Hanul is really curious to know about the location of the famous training monument landmark. The old man guides him down a path straight down, assuring him that he'll find it at the end, and that the same path inspires good luck. Hanul is in a positive mood even if he doesn't believe in superstitions. This is also where he manifests the treasure chest for the gacha pull. Basically, bro wants to maximize his luck before he opens up the notorious chest, hoping that something good will come out of it. His phone rings. It's actually Suwa again, who messages him to arrange a reward for the kill. He's actually pretty stunned that she's taking great interest in him. The really interesting part is that she's even using her personal phone number instead of their guild. Regardless, Hanul isn't a simp and cares only about opening the treasure chest right now, one he'd never imagined he'd open in real life. Even though the drop rates on this thing are genuinely dogshit, he's okay for having a chance to obtain a high-rank item. Hanul doesn't even ask for much, only begging for an A-rank pull, and Hanul chants, "Open," to activate the chest, letting loose a shimmering light that manifests several different weapons from various ranks. The highest rank among them is the S rank, a blood red laced with golden armor. With the introduction concluded, the light glows a severe golden before turning into red. Our boy lays his eyes on the supreme artifact in awe, as the scene ambiguously cuts off from his reward. Back at home, Hanul sits pondering the current situation. Though he's found a way to amass gold, right now his hurdle is selecting to train his monsters, not knowing what's the issue with the system. On his current monster sheet, he can hire a goblin fighter, but to his shock, an ogre berserker is also available. A typical warrior goblin costs 70 gold, so that's not the issue. But the confusing part is the berserker ogre, which costs a whopping 420 gold, and even though it's out of his league, it's still available for hire. Suddenly, it clicks in our boy's head. The system only allows him to hire monsters that he's personally killed. If that story checks out, then it is understandable why only the goblins and ogre classes are unlocked, despite the gold difference. This means that Hanul personally has to hunt these monsters, and though it seems like a difficult requirement, with his earlier gacha pull, things look believable. By the way, bro didn't get that armor, and instead acquired unique grade glasses, buffing his stats and giving him a skill. He's actually surprised that a unique grade item even came to him. The artifact is top quality and is one of a kind. By the way, a unique grade item in the game is better than 3 or more A-rank items combined, making it an amazing pull. With the glasses, he decides to wear them to test their usage. Hanul checks them out for the first time and unlocks the Epstein files, the secrets of the universe. All of his stats are buffed by 5, and an added skill called Sage's Eye is now accessible. This skill allows him to infer details of his target's eyes and skills, with a usage of twice per day. Basically, it's like an appraisal or a scanning skill. Hanul is impressed with his stat boost and loves the unique effect, calling it insane even. Checking the details of the skill, he He wonders if he should use it on an enemy to test the information, but that aside, this kind of object is exactly the kind of thing he needs right now. If he can inspect the monster's exact stats, hunting will become a piece of cake. Taking them off, Hanul shares his doubts about the glasses too, questioning why he's being favored by the system all of a sudden. The question of why he got chosen is drowning him, when suddenly, the system zooms a warning in his face for the incoming wave. He's advised to prepare his defenses as the system goes utterly ballistic, hammering notification after notification as he watches in shock. Hanul observes the game's screen, and to his genuine horror, he learns that a newly added 700th and first wave is going to start in 10 minutes. Bro doesn't even know how to prepare his defenses for the damn wave. All he can envision is the hellfire armies of monsters that are going to swarm him the moment that wave starts. This is like a level 1 thug facing the final boss. Bro is losing his balls and wants to decline, fearing the outcome. The system highlights that his failure against the monster invasion will result in the destruction of the Castle of Illusions, which means every single power he has available to him will collapse. And here comes the neat part. Hanul watches the future as he sees cities burning in the utter destruction of the world. Failure is death. The wave is about to begin, and Bro is questioning how he's going to stop those damn monsters. The blue gate spirals like a portal, resembling the exact one from the game, but Hanul is confused on why he's being forced to participate. Then there's the fact that his own participation results in a catastrophic world goes fuck all penalty. It's a genuinely crazy downside, but the system's decided it's round and will commence the wave in 10 minutes. Knowing that he can't overthink the current situation and merely has to act, our boy consolidates his goal to stop the monsters. The game has always been a simple defense game, with the objective of blocking monsters from attacking the castle. Think of it like a tower defense game, but because of this game's agonizing difficulty levels like Hollow Knight, strategy is the main element needed to stop the monsters, and even summoning them in the correct paces. Several defensive structures from the unified castle must be utilized alongside a bunch of items. After cooperating with all of these factors, the best strategy and tactics for each situation is devised. That's how the game works. Each control for our boy currently functions like a touchscreen. The first thing he does is check his monster inventory for the deployment. Apparently Bro has 5 deployable monsters. 4 of them are goblins, and the last one is an ogre. This is an interesting revelation, because apparently Hanul can use these creatures without having to hire them in this mode. He wonders if he can also access the strength of the Sovereign, but unfortunately it's not accessible or possible. Next he tries to rack up on additional troops with the spending of his gold, but the system stops him from doing that too, preventing any changes after the wave notification. Bro's getting cooked and starting to wonder if this damn system is secretly sabotaging him. The 7-0 first wave consists of Count Gular, as well as his elite unit of the Dragon Children. This dude is rated 6 whole stars, with an additional army of 61 dragons. A 6-star monster is not looking good for a fight. Star ranks are supposed to indicate combat prowess, and the rank also confirms the potential of each monster. It's obvious that if the difference between stars is too high, one monster will get squashed by the other. The real concerning part is him being tasked to deal with a fucking 6-star with his tiny squad of 1 stars. No matter what he does, the result is obvious. Bro's going to get annihilated by even a single dragon. Hanul doesn't even have gold or other monsters to help him in the strategy. Suddenly, the system offers him a unique benefit, allowing him 1 defensive structure and item that will be distributed to all his forces. Now, you might think it's some kind of huge help, but our boy is offended at the fact that this system expects him to clear the stage like this. The situation may be insane, but Hanul needs to make the best out of what he has, especially since he's the veteran of this god-forsaken shitty game. He starts manipulating the environment, figuring out a way to stop the wave from his experience. With only 8 minutes counting down, he blitzes as fast as he can, factoring all the different elements until the timer hits 15 seconds. After his preparation, the clock strikes 0, Hanul is ready to face the wave. The wave begins with the unleashing fury of the wyverns, swallowing the whole sky with their numbers. As their goal, they're targeting the tower or the castle in this case. The army is led by the Count. At the start of the wave, the wyverns are fiercely slamming the barrier, doing their best to crack an opening. The powerful Count is irked at the sight of his monsters being incapable. Several more wyverns gang up to break the reinforced structure, but this is all thanks to Hanul's strategy. The first thing he did is use the Infinite Barrier perk, buffing the defenses to 100 against any attack. The Infinite Barrier is invincible, but it has an added condition. It can only be used when the number of monsters is below the 2-star rank for the player. Well, despite our boy's best attempts to cast the barrier, one wyvern blazingly unleashes its breath, dealing damage and obliterating the barrier. Thanks to its effects, the shield regenerates, and is the only thing that keeps the barrier alive. There's one huge problem though. Though it's true that the barrier considers each attack as -1 point, if all 61 dragons attack together, the durability would slam to less than half instantly. That's the loophole, but our boy's got a solution for that too. It's called spam clicking. Bro is taking inspiration from Osu players. This way, the durability is boosted by 1 per each click, making his own fingers his limitations to the barrier's healing process. Hanul's hand is starting to hurt, but it's the surest way to guarantee complete defense of the barrier. Next up is the bigger question: how the hell does he even manage to defeat these godlike monsters? The answer is simple. The barrier reflects the attack of one of the wyverns, hurting it by 1 point. Normally, goblins are incapable of hurting wyverns, but thanks to his special item, the Hakan's Spoon, the conditions are reversed. This A-rank item allows our boy to deal damage regardless of rank disparity. The wyverns are starting to taper in strength, even if it only deals them 1 help loss. One of the beasts even notices this clumsy goblin making fun of him, and despite all its rage, the dragon can't do anything at all. From the way this is going, our boy is going to require around 60 whole hours to clear the whole horde. So now, the difficult part is just withholding the barrier's recovery process for 60 crazy hours. The battle of attrition begins as Hanul spams his finger, wondering if his goblins are gonna die first or he will. The Count's forces are up against Hanul's as both offense and defense meet a stalemate. Sometime later, our boy is starting to get tired, and the moment he tries to reach for water, Bro's entire body shivers coldly. The thing is, this man isn't even allowed to interact with anything outside the game. Long story short, Hanul has to suck it up and get no rest, no water, no food, no shitting, no gooning, no beating his meat, just to beat the game. With all his movements caught up, dude knows that the average person would go insane from despair. But this man is built differently and calls it the mere start of the game. One of the dragons erupt in calamitous rage and fires off a titanic fire breath, chipping off the barrier by a lot. Being cornered and feeling the thrill is the very reason our boy loves this game, as only 2 hours have just passed with 58 left to go. The death penalty is far too high, the whole world will meet destruction, so Hanul goes gamer god mode and accepts complete control of the situation, vowing to fight harder. 12 agonizing hours raced by, but he's not even halfway there. The damage is eventually going to stack up, so sooner or later, things could be better. The goblins are slowly chipping away at the dragons. 2 wyverns collapse, but the rest of the army remains. Still, Hanul is okay with this outcome and just wants to continue this trajectory. 3 more monsters collapse, his spirit holds on. A day has passed and he's only cleared 10, then 12, and when a few more wyverns tried to pierce the barrier, 2 half-drakes died in the process. The Count knew his numbers were toppling, more wyverns began to fall, as well as the half-drakes, and after a fucking crazy run, only 2 Mazanters remained. By this point, Hanul couldn't even touch the screen and was unable to reset the durability for the barrier. One of the goblins launches an attack, only for the wyvern to pierce past it, before releasing a dual strike headed right for the shield. This attack is the game changer. The infinite barrier is officially destroyed, waking Hanul's soul open. The few seconds he decided to rest is when the barrier got obliterated, and if the castle takes even a single hit in its current condition, it will fall. However, Gano decides to make the sacrificial play, and heads right up to confront the dragon. I still think this is the coolest depiction of any goblin. Bro looks like he could have a whole manhwa about him. Anyway, the two are about to clash, goblin against dragon. Gano's got that aura-farming gaze and literally pours his everything into smashing the monster's skull. His mace is so powerful that it stuns even our boy, defeating the dragon and even toppling the Count. With this, the wave is officially cleared, much to Hanul's shock. He screams in celebration, but before even breathing another second, Hanul collapses instantly. The next time he wakes up is when the sun is out bright. Bro didn't even know when he got cooked. He stares at the system screen remarking the clearance of the wave, granting him 20 wyvern bones, 10 drake scales, and 5 drake hearts. These are the loot from the mission, but he doesn't really know what he's going to use them for at all. The system then comes to explain that 3 conditions are left until he can share a conversation with the sovereign. The first condition is to amass a playtime for 50 hours, and the second for defending successfully. Hanul doesn't even know the purpose of the conversation, let alone why the heck it is blocked by 3 conditions. Regardless, Bro is just happy that he's cleared 2 of them, so he'll soon be able to access the feature. Then comes the final reward, one he'll get for clearing the wave. The screen shines a bright light, blinding the room and astonishing Hanul. At that moment, we get a shot of his phone. Apparently, Bro got called 7 whole times by his admirer, Sua. Back at the Pungbek Guild, Sua's brother refuses to understand the situation. The same guy that is supposedly an E-rank managed to beat an ogre. Big Shaq from the NBA over here is tall as fuck and he thinks our boy is a fraud. But Sua emphasized that there's been rumors of Hanul's reawakening. Suhyuk doesn't believe it for a bit, knowing that reawakenings are pretty damn rare. At that point, they find the man of the hour, Hanul himself, dashing as fast as he can for a talk. He knows that they've been waiting for a while, and apologizes for being unavailable. Even though Bro is apologizing a shit ton, somehow Suhyuk still has a stick up his ass because the guy made his sister wait for 3 days. Sua hollers at her brother and tells him to stop, Meanwhile, our boy takes notice of their relationship. As for Hanul, she gives him an explanation regarding the ogre's rewards as well as the payment settlement. Our boy wants to kick things off with the association report first, so they're brought to the staff desk where the receptionist receives Sua's personal testimony watching this guy take down an ogre. She knows that no one else could have arrived, even if there isn't any physical evidence. Soo-hyuk, being that overprotective older brother, glares at the receptionist for even trying to question them, so she instantly folds. At the same time, she argues that a monster of the B-rank caliber requires proper formal verification procedure. What that means is that they're going to be measuring our boy's stats to see if his story checks out. This is going to be done using a manometer, and that's a problem. You see, Sua understands that this guy has reawakened, but even she couldn't check his stats. Worried, she even vouches for him, so they use a different verification method. But Hanul himself is pretty confident and vows to do the measurement right away. In the next scene, the manometer clears one of the members' stats at D rank, and next up is our boy's turn, so Sua is naturally worried. Her brother believes this is the best situation possible because he wants to see the kind of potential Hanul has for inspiring the constellation's interest. If he doesn't have any ability, then he's not worthy of being noted. Finally, our boy places his hand on the giant stone, with nothing on him to help boost his stats. It's been a while since he stood in front of one of these, and like other hunters, he too had his mana measured 7 years back. The manometer fires up to check his stats while his friends await patiently. Soo-hyuk is drawn to a certain reaction when suddenly the manometer's measurement reaches completion. Hanul stands as the evaluation clears his new rank as a whopping S rank, a jaw-dropping crazy turn of events that steals everyone's attention. The S-rank descriptor is something that not even Hanul himself had any idea about until he got the final reward for the mission. You see, back then, he acquired a new skill. It's called the Lord's Afterimage, which adds the strongest monster of the previous wave's stats to the player's stats. However, the stat is only accessible for 30 minutes and can only be used once per day. Basically, Bro can use Count Gular's stats for the allotted time period, and that's what he did, buffing himself to obscene levels. He got the perfect skill for the measurement, because while the skill is active, his powers are comparable to an S rank. No one can feel a thing. The world will simply consider him an S rank rookie. Both siblings are stunned. Even Soo-hyuk has to offer a compliment despite his hesitation. With the measurement concluded, he is officially recognized as the person to defeat the ogre. One of the members assures him that it's all they needed. Hanul thanks the siblings for helping him progress the process smoothly. He wants to head out straight away, but as he's leaving, Soo-hyuk stops him for a chat over coffee. He is inviting him as the vice guild leader too, so it's a grand invitation that catches the attention of everyone else. The people are interested in this development, only for our boy to act extra smug by rejecting the offer, believing that he only needs Sua for any information regarding the guild. Saying so, Hanul walks away from the scene, leaving her pissy brother at a loss for words. He comes back home and his face is everywhere on the news. The stream has just started, with the Hunter Association declaring his current rank as B rank. By the way, this is because the association doesn't allow a hunter to jump more than 3 ranks at one time. Well, even his own stream is having some commenters shitting on the trash game. Bro plays it chilly and acts like he's not the one they're talking about. The viewers are going crazy for the secret S rank who stood up to Soo-hyuk. They speculate that this dude might end up joining the guild, but also learn about the rumor of him rejecting it. While they're glazing and talking about him, Hanul adds that he's got some new content for the viewers. It's actually hunter-related content, but the viewers aren't as much interested. He decides to pioneer their interest by asking their suggestions to clear a specific dungeon. They're stunned that he's going to stream the entire raid experience, as that's considered straight-up illegal. There's a confidentiality agreement for hunters that can't be violated. Instead, Hanul intends to just post the clearance certificate and then tell the story himself. They all think his story is going to be peak. The guilds who are actively trying to hide the secrets of the dungeons will fail because of one streamer. One viewer suggests taking on the Mad Dragon's Nest, but then another drops 50,000 won for the Giant's Kitchen dungeon. Then a third viewer drops 1,000,000 freaking won, begging him to rip off the queen's legs in the spider's forest. The difference between 50,000 and 1,000,000 is insane, but the donations are even overwhelming for our boy. He tells them to calm down and stares up at the highest notification. 10 freaking million won have been allotted to him, earning the shock and attention of every other viewer. Bro's got a whale for a fan, but in reality, it's the assistant of the sovereign who wants to talk to our boy. Hanul can only wonder where he's being sent for such an enormous amount, so he asks for the viewer's recommendation. The entity responds by suggesting he head to the deepest part of the Garden of Meditation. The other viewers believe this request is a death trap, because no one has ever been able to clear it. The Garden of Meditation has 3 whole sectors: the entrance, the lake, and the deepest part. The entrance is relatively considered safe for a hunting ground. The real kicker is the lake in the center, inviting new levels of danger. Nobody even knows what the deepest part holds because they couldn't get past the lake. The only person who managed to get this far was Soo-hyuk himself, who reached his limits and stopped progressing further. And now, he's being asked for that same mission. which is impossible even in Hanul's own analysis. Viewer 1 adds that he doesn't have to clear the dungeon itself. He is fine with the mission as long as Hanul reaches the deepest part. This changes up the difficulty a bit, though he's even assured added support if Bro ends up clearing the dungeon fully. The rest of the viewers vouch against this crazy request, knowing that it's going to get the streamer killed in the name of content. Admittedly, our boy knows the gravity of the situation, but he's okay with just reaching the deepest part and returning back. Then there's the fact that viewer 1 himself wants him to complete the dungeon, and even offered his support for it. Hanul really isn't looking forward to this mission, but ultimately shouts loudly that he's ready. Let's visit the Hunter Bureau, where the receptionist is taking his request to challenge the Garden of Meditation on a solo expedition. After hearing his interest in exploring